Just in regards to that motion, that would just mean that there'd be no board of it, right? So on the agenda, we would go employment superintendent update, public input, and adjournment. There would be no input from board members.
Okay, so there's been a motion, it's been seconded, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Lauren, oh, Lauren, what did you say? Or, Avery? We got 4 and 4. But I think we should go carry with. Yeah, I will, that's part. Keep other on the agenda. Would you? Oh, we also have the company decent, we have donation that we'd like to recognize. You have a motion for that, discussion on the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Basik, go number eight.
Would you put that in place number 4 with the donation? Yes. We also should replace it with 4 with the recycle. All those in favor? Opposed? If I would do one, sorry, go on. You just have to speak. Yeah, thank you. What? Just your penance for being away, I'm about to get you out. Okay. All right then. I think the agenda is well settled. If you can do one public input straight. The first public input,
Yes.
Okay. The first public input session is a 21-minute session with each person having no longer than 3 minutes in which to make a statement. But a second public input session may be held at the end of the meeting if allowed by the board chair. Each speaker will give his or her name, address, and reason for speaking. Public input is designed for district residents, but the board chair may grant non-residents the opportunity to address the board. Statements concerning subject matter that falls under the law regarding executive sessions, for example, matters involving personnel, cannot be made during public input. We as a community pledge to treat each other as we wish to be treated. We pledge to seek understanding when there may be disagreement. Regardless of outcomes or opinions, we pledge to move forward with respect. This is time for comments and or questions for the board, but please be aware that questions may not be able to be answered at this meeting.
thank you. Do we have any public input at this point? Doesn't look like anyone's going to be stepping up for public input. So we'll move on to the minutes of October 16th. Do you have any updates or changes to the minutes that were sent out last week?
I'm ready to be checking Laura.
Yeah. Laura, did you have anything? Except everything, and like we did discussion, we just like had the note that everybody are great. They are very, very great, and do some things very nice.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
gentlemen. Any other updates?
Motion to approve?
With motion to approve, give a second. The motion and the second to approve. All those in favor? Thank you. Lady was abstained. No. All those opposed? I'm going to abstention. Maura, are we okay? Okay, thanks. Okay. And so we move on to number 4, which is now for our very exciting donation. Okay,
Thank you. So our David Vargas, our school nutrition director, has been working with Bud's Food Guide. It's a not-for-profit company. They had received a grant at the 100 refrigerators for community refrigerators. And we are able to have a donation of the food. So what that does is a lot of towns have community fridges, is what they're called. And what it is that local businesses, restaurants, community members can go and put food in the refrigerator. And then where you are looking for food or you wish to participate, you come and take the food, put some food back. So There's several of them. March did just study wares, this past week. It's member, there's a couple of refrigerators. Kittery has one community center. Then our school nutrition director actually started. So, so the refrigerators have been donated. The process of the food portion is what our school nutrition director, David Vargas, is going to be working on with our community to write out. So tonight, it's the approval for the acceptance of the up to 4 refrigerators. Our first thought is to put the first refrigerator we have at the high school, middle school, right, over by the gym. And, that's a good accessible area. There's a lot of light in that spot. There's good parking. There's good access to the refresh. So, up to 4 refrigerators, guys, make a motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept the donation, we second. Motion to second, and all those in favor?
Read them, we'll discuss.
sorry.
I'm saying,
Just, I know my refrigerator needs cleaning out on a semi-regular basis. How is the maintenance, care, all that stuff, is that planned out in this?
That would be our school nutrition director, the volunteers time.
And God forbid, should he no longer be our school nutrition director, how would it work?
We can come up with a plate for that.
if it,
It's a community opportunity there's to support. And it's something that is actually growing in the sequence areas that we would like to participate in it. And I think we had students who would be able to go back and do that. The access program at Humboldt High School, which is the student volunteer program. Ready to talk about it?
So I don't anticipate any real struggle with maintaining, keeping the program going. But it's a good problem to have, to create if it needs to relocate to it.
Thing, can anyone put food into the fridge and anyone can take food out of the fridge? So is there documentation on that? Like, do you date the food? Do you, that process is done? So when do you expect these to be installed? Do you have a date in mind?
We need approval here this evening.
Right.
And then the hope would be to have the first one in around Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving. And so one of the things that has happened, like we'll use the Kittery as the example, but like some of the restaurants in the area, they have designated banks that they put food in so that they label the food. There's a whole process that will be listed, that they put food in, they label, they date the food, they list ingredients and food, so it's pretty.
And then I'm just assuming it's great community benefit. What is there a plan to communicate with our communities beyond just the school district? Because we have lots of people who are starving who are not members of our school community, right? Okay, thank you.
The goal is to have one in each of the towns too, so Lebanon and Foxborough and Berwick. That's our goal, and we could do 4, so we're gonna find them. Hopefully the most centrally located, obviously probably one here at the Renton School, and then we can think about the Berwick.
So we have a motion, it's been seconded, and can have those to approve. All those in favor? Pass. Thank you. All those opposed? And motion's passed.
Thank you. So once we get it up and running, we'll have David come in and just talk about how it's going and share some successes because it is very successful.
And that was the get a update on Green School Management Association conference. That was their problem.
I was able to attend. I got some time off, so I really enjoyed it. I saw a new board member. It was nice to hear from other across the entire state, the other board members, the seasoned ones. The lead speaker was amazing, and he was talking about how it's not enough just to acknowledge someone. We would extend that acknowledgement. I think that's really important that we should try to do that. So instead of telling the first grade teacher, you're doing a really good job, you tell the third grade teacher that first grade teacher is doing a really good job. So now that third grade teacher is going to come back and say, I heard you're doing a really good job. So it builds a more community and everyone's cheering each other on. And it really is like, oh, so I'm gonna invite, do that in my life as well, because you want praise from your boss and you want praise, but you also want everyone else to know how hard you're working as well. So that would really open the eyes and stuff like that, and how just positivity for the community. And sometimes there's a lot of negative out in the social media and stuff, and then that's all people see. So try to get some positivity, which I have seen, like that beautiful video of the football players and stuff like that. And then like Jeremy did a great video of the play that's happening right now, and that's so we just need these teachers work really hard. The students are working really hard. It's just nice to have that out there, because if you don't have a kid in the school, you don't know what's going on. So that was very positive to hear. The people you meet there is pretty amazing. I actually had lunch and someone started talking to me, and she was the Department of Education, the person who's in charge of the 529, and she was testing me on it. Like, I did teach myself, don't worry. But you just learn so much. Like, I learned about the new legislature that's coming up, that's going to change that, and it's just open eyes. The Augusta superintendent was there, and he's having very public meetings, and so it's nice to hear his feedback and stuff like that. Is very, I encourage like all of us to just go and just get encouragement and rebuild that excitement, because I'm excited to be here, and so sometimes I know after a couple of years you're not as excited, and so it was nice to be re-excited and fulfill why I wanted to come and help. But it was really good. And hopefully we can bring some back. I bought the books, so I'll share.
Thanks, Ruth. Any questions from other board members?
Did it go?
I do want to add that Ally also attended the first day along with her son. She's not here this evening to give an update, but she may in the future. She had some good sessions as well.
Thanks, Ruth. Now, the ever popular transportation update.
Okay, so we've had this on, we've talked about transportation for almost every single meeting that we've had. It was asked by a board member to put this back on put it on the official agenda. So I guess we can start with just kind of going through again our current status. I think that's an important piece for us, and then we can just go in that part. So right now, we currently have, let me just try to find it, we updated, we have 28 buses, 28 drivers. We are budgeted for 35 drivers. So we are still down for that. We do have one of those drivers is out on medical leave still. And then we have one driver who will be retiring in mid-December. And we have another driver who is going to have their last day on 11/14. And so I'll talk a little bit about monitors, because we also are continuing looking for bus monitors. We have 8 monitors for busing, and several of them, almost all of them, let me think about that. 6 of them are currently working on runs that students have an IEP that require a monitor, whether it be for health or for some other mobility challenges. The remaining monitors fluctuate between, if they need a sub on a bus, they will take over that bus so that there's not a monitor on the bus. So we got that covered. And the other one is going on the pre-K buses to help with pre-K. We have 3 positions posted currently for monitors. So that's our status right now. So 6, I would say 6 between 3 monitors, probably 3 bus drivers. We're looking at needing 6 more for the department. We have advertised, as we've talked about, on School Spring and Indeed. Some of the marquees in some of the schools have placed them. We took out an ad in Sequest Online, so it's running in print, but it will also remain online for about 30 days. what we found, and this is, I don't think, uncommon, but on Indeed, we have a lot of applicants, so it looks very robust. But once you start calling and scheduling appointments, Sue and I spent 2 days, interviewing for bus drivers and for monitors. And, we had lined up about 14 interviews, and we had 4. Because what we found is happening is that, for some unemployment purposes, you apply for positions, and then even if you get an interview and you don't follow it through, it looks like you are trying to get a job. So we've run into that. Our transportation director continues to run into that. Like she had a few interviews scheduled yesterday, they didn't show up. A few the day before, they didn't show up. So we're just kind of in that cycle of that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about athletic events because that was a big, huge expense to our budget last year. When almost everything in the beginning of the year we had in charter. And what is happening is what we had built into this to the schedule for the drivers this year was that they would cover 8 runs for athletics, that we would be able to cover 8 runs in the afternoons for athletics. And then above and beyond that, we would have to charter just because we are still short drivers. So 23 runs had to be chartered, which is significantly less than last fall. There were 67. So even, we had to do the scheduling and the way that she's worked the calendar and having some spare drivers in here, we were able to do that. One of the spare drivers also does plowing. So when the winter time comes, it's going to be that's going to be one piece of work in that as well. So that is that. I think what I wanted to spend some time on is just looking for if there are additional specific questions from the board or any, we can try to answer anything, hopefully from the transportation side of it.
One of the meetings you mentioned that we might be hiring an assistant director. I haven't heard follow-up from that, and I'm curious. You had also mentioned that there was room in the budget. Is there room in the budget because we're short drivers? And if we hire drivers, do we still have room in the budget for an assistant director?
We are having we're having trouble getting applicants for everything. So part of why we do have room in the budget is because we haven't filled those positions. And every time that goes by, we get that much more money in savings, which, you typically like to hear that a school district is saving, but not to this level of need that we have. So the hope would have been, and it still is with that position, that they would also drive, that they have to have a CDL and drive so that they are helping with the driving as well. So some of that money would be coming directly out of the line for the drivers and also the other line for the drivers because we haven't had positions for doing vacant. So that was these.
Just clarification, just want to make sure I understand. We have 28 buses / drivers, and then over the next month or so, we're going to be down to 25 drivers. Did I hear that correctly? If we don't have other people coming in, right? Is that you're at 28, but we're expecting 3? One's on med leave right now. I'm sorry.
We're expecting that to happen.
Now, is that person on medical leave? Are they one of the 28, or is it actually 29 and it's 28 because of med leave?
One of the 28.
One is
Is on
28.
leave,
Okay, is on medical leave, and
Yes.
then one is retiring
Mhm.
sometime in December, and one last day is
It's kind of-
relatively soon.
Yes.
And then regarding the monitors,
Mhm.
as I understand it, there are 8 monitors. 6 are on special education runs. Is that correct? Are special education runs? Are they regular buses or are they special education buses?
Special education buses.
Okay. And so 6 are on those, and then one of those 8 is on a dedicated pre-K run. So pre-K 3, right? Because pre-K through 3rd grade is
Yes,
on a bus.
they move between the buses. So it's not assigned to one specific bus, but they will move and get on all of those pre-K to 3 buses.
And how many pre-K 3 buses do we have across the district?
stop.
12, so that's once every 2.5 weeks.
That's, it's not, it's good enough, I'm scared that. And so again, and the range of state daycares over lots of ways, there's one that has no PK kids on it. There's one bus that has one bus with 2, one bus with 3. That's 50, 3 is 5, 2 is 7, 1 8, and 1 9.
That's pick up.
So it's a variety, you know, animals on a whole. And honestly, sometimes the kiddos with the PK bus with 90 kids might not be as challenging as one that has, it just depends on the kid.
Personality, yeah,
Right.
who's on that day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really understood.
Yeah.
When we originally were talking about pre-K, I remember having a conversation about seatbelts. And in my assumption, I made a bad assumption. My assumption was that these pre-K kids, the seatbelts were gonna be for the pre-K kids. And I think I've since been educated, so I'm actually checking. The only person that can put a seatbelt on a kid is a bus monitor.
That's correct.
So we have buses with seatbelts that can't be used, is that correct?
So we do not, there are not seatbelts on this school bus.
Okay, so we've not installed the seatbelts.
No, and that is actually, we did a lot of work around in terms of this, all around us, just who's using the facial air and going to join check position, right? And the majority, well, there's a couple of things to do. Special education buses carry down seatbelts and because of on, and that's what some programming does for pre-K. But the majority are folks in our area are not using seatbelts because of the fact that we are not, A, they don't have them installed on their buses, and B, we can't hire enough kiddos to be on each bus to put kiddos in the seats. So that's, we've got information like from around the different areas, but it is not uncommon for pre-K kids to be on the bus without 2 plus.
Yeah,
Or monitors actually, because we got some that don't, like, they're districts like us that don't have monitors going to golf.
right, yeah, no, I've heard it's a challenge, you know, I mean, I remember kindergartners were a challenge group to teach them how to ride the bus correctly and safely and all that, so, you know, a year plus earlier, right, is, an added challenge. Just, yeah, throw the solutions out there, right, is, one of the things is, if we're gonna continue doing pre-K, I think finding bus monitors somehow, some way, and I'd almost wonder how the board might feel, we don't have to discuss it tonight, just throw it out there, is that we charge a fee for pre-K that would go to providing offsetting for bus monitors, because we know that's an issue, we wanna make sure that they're getting safely to school. So just throwing a solution out there. The other thing, I'm glad you brought up the assistant to transportation, you know, that transportation rules have been difficult hearing them. And I would just, my thought process is if you have the certificate to be a transportation director, you'd probably like to do the directorship full-time, not half-time. You know, so I'm wondering if there's, if you've looked at altering your administrative team to provide Leanne the support that she needs to run the transportation department until we can get, you know, someone who's qualified for the half-time time. Are we able to use somehow, some way, the folks on our current administrative team to provide that support in the meantime? It is clear that Leanne needs it. You know, I've heard from a lot of people that it's been necessary for a number of weeks. And obviously it's so necessary to talk to us about it. And just, is there a way to use our current admin team to provide with the support she needs?
So what I can say is we do. We currently, when there are any kind of sensitive issues that come, or anything between, you know, trying to figure out, you know, working with staff issue, a student issue, a parent issue, our administrators work with her to keep most of that so that she's really then able to focus on looking with and supporting requirements.
So the need for an assistant transportation director is to handle student and parent issues on the bus?
The need is to support Leanne, and that could be that way. It could be a different way. It could be through routing. It could be through evaluation of our bus drivers. It could be things, crisis plans, any of those pieces.
So I guess I'm just looking for clarity, what are those needs? You know what I mean? If we're helping in one area, but I would imagine routing was really needed August, early September. Did we adjust our admin team to provide her with the support in routing?
We gave her, she has 2 administrative assistants that are working through that. When we found that bus right is having trouble with the routing, and I mean trouble just meaning sticking to the timeline because it was more involved than what they thought, our technology department stepped up. Our director, James Crum, technology department stepped in to help with that. So it really, even on Labor Day, even during that weekend, that department was helping our transportation department to get that squared away from things. So we look at where our expertise is and we work through that.
I guess my concern is, and if what I've heard is wrong, I apologize. I've heard that our transportation director is working in an obscene amount of hours, or has been, 50, 60 plus hours a week, coming in on the weekends, a number of times to work. If that's true, then we're not providing her with enough support, and we need to figure that out, because she has done truly exemplary job since she's been here. And it would be a tragic loss for this district if she was to get so fed up and leave. So whatever we need to do administrative wise, like, let's get her the support that she needs. I understand that I can't imagine that a half-time transportation director is just waiting in the wings to come. Like, so we have to alter our admin team to get her the support that she needs. The last thing on transportation I was gonna bring up.
Josh, can I just?
Yeah.
The biggest need we have is drivers. If Leanne wasn't having to drive as well, then her world would be much more simplified. And I actually just wrote an article and just put it out with some of them. I am beating the bushes trying to find people that are willing and able to come as drivers. That is our biggest need. So, and I do believe that if we could relieve that for her, and honestly, I don't have a CDL, and so there are people that do and that are willing to do that. Unfortunately, it's not part of my role, it's not gonna happen, but I think that is really one of our biggest things, is trying to find more drivers. And again, we're not the only district with that problem. We do have an incredibly, Leanne's great. We love her and we want to keep her. And so I bring her flowers, to be honest. I do anything I can to keep her as happy as we can get, but it's not easy.
No, was that any in process, Megan? Are we driving?
We don't, not currently. So, and that's, to your other part, that's why Sue and I spent 2 days interviewing, working through interviews and having, calling candidates from our office instead of transportation to take that burden off. So, yeah, I figured out.
And I'm glad you brought up the driver issue. This will be my last question. The board received a letter that was sent to you guys, and there was a meeting Thursday night. And my understanding from the letter was that it was literally talking about that. Why have we lost drivers? What have been those things? And my understanding is that's what the Thursday meeting was about. Could you brief us about?
Yeah, so that's actually not what the Thursday meeting was supposed to be about. The meeting was about how we could work together with our union and our drivers and our administration and Leanne to process and problem solve when we had a lot of call-outs. There's people that are sick, people that need certain time off, and we needed to work within the parameters of the contract to move people around. And we were working with our union stewards and with our the Teamsters representative, Chris Shepard, who's great. And we came together to figure out how can we work together and not break the contract. Because that's what the problem was, is that we had some drivers who were feeling uncomfortable about taking a run that was asked of them to cover another driver, because that might break it might be contractually a problem. So that's the intent of that meeting, was for us to come together as the administration with Leanne, with Mr. Shepherd and with our two union stewards to move forward in that direction. Right? That's what we talked about. So, I was surprised by that letter and the sort of left turn that it took. It's fine. It's okay, because we're all struggling with this whole idea of transportation, wanting to support Google. We do know that we have, Derek had at the Gallagher table that was pretty vocal about things regarding PK, and we get that. Nothing's perfect, and so we're just working through it. But that was a surprise in terms of that letter, and then everything else that came up throughout. But so we continually are working with Chris, and we always keep Randy and Jen, who are our union stewards, in the loop to try to like figure this out. But it's not simple, for sure.
I'm so sorry that miscommunication happened. It came out as clearly a misunderstanding somehow, that came out. And being that the letter was written, I'd say very well. I mean, it was a well-written letter. There seems to be some definite issues that I do hope that you guys are taking serious and working on.
You said you had that meeting on Thursday. Did anything come up were you guys able to come together with any ideas on moving forward? What can be done that you're able to share?
Jen's out there in the audience, so I don't want to misspeak. But I feel like we have a good rapport in terms of our union crew and us. And so I think, Jen, that mostly it's about communication and asking and making sure that if somebody were to take a run, that we wouldn't be causing any issue with hours and things like that. So making people whole, basically. If they were going to step into something that was a real need, then we make sure that that person doesn't lose hours, doesn't lose time, doesn't take over. Like it's really about keeping the flame or things like. Do you want to add anything?
I can if you'd like.
It's
That's good.
Yeah, I'm good.
So we're trying to figure out ways, yes, we have the contract, and we do stick to that. So the problem is that we're having is if someone does help who works 8 hours a day, but then they go and help a special ed driver who only works 6 hours a day, where's that 2 hours going to that driver? So we need those,
Sure.
drives, yeah, no, we need to assure the drivers that they're not losing what they have. So that's where those come in, like, no, well, if you're not gonna, we can't do that. So there's a lot of, things like that we're dealing with. Or if we have, a driver that wants to help out with another route, but yet another time that driver doesn't like this driver and says, no, I'm not gonna help out. So now we get into fine, we're not doing it then. So we're kind of running into things like that. Where it's like some drivers are willing to help others, but not helping others. So, I mean, we do run into things like that, so, but no, I think we're working well, and we're doing really well at trying to, but to still make sure that we're still getting the hours that we deserve and need and are fighting for, which is what we're all doing, we're all trying to fight for the hours that we need in the career that we are in.
One of the other things to note is that if you have to we should not be canceling special education runs, right? Like, because it's an IEP, and that's why, to Jen's point, some of those routes or those ones may be, smaller, not as lengthy, but those are imperative to cover. So those are that's some of the communication that we've had about trying to get whole.
Well, another idea that we had was to, maybe for the North Berwick run, was to just have that driver maybe help out, but then it's canceling that driver every time. And yes, in Lebanon, we have had a driver that is, unfortunately, we've had. So it's like, okay, well, now we can't cancel that one, but we can't move another driver to another run to cover the, it's just, it's a lot of moving pieces.
Okay, so one of my questions that has to do with the little thing on the bus. I'm trying
Just a
to.
little closer, just don't be afraid. Yeah. Too many distance from
Okay, so part of the issue with my concern with the little seat on the bus is that they are so small. Those seats are pretty large. They handle high school kids right down to 3 or 4 year olds. Is there another alternative for them being on a bus that would have seatbelts that would actually keep them? Can they ride the special ed bus? You know, some of the buses have one, you said one or none. So, and then is a wash, but 1 and 2, is there room on a special ed bus that has an active monitor that would be able to take those pre-K kids? Or is it possible to put that burden back on the parents and have the parents drop the pre-K children off to go?
With it, tough one, to be honest, Jerry. We can ask parents to drop kids off, and but part of the benefit of pre-K or any schooling in public, you know, for the public is that we are providing transportation, and so that for them allows them the opportunity to like the working and all that kind of stuff. The stuff we talk about. I don't have a good answer to say yes, we can do that. We do not have seatbelts on all of the special ed buses either. We do have them on the ones that are specific to children that need it. And so it would be a future piece that we need to think about. We can think about purchasing vans or smaller buses, minis that would just specifically do the pre-K piece, and we can put the seatbelts in. They could buy plate harnesses and all that stuff, and make sure that there's monitors on it. But I can't ever promise you that we'll be able to A, put that all in our budgets, and B, find the monitors to be on those buses. So that's my only question about it. And so I just don't want to promise anything. I think I don't disagree with you that it would be best practice, I guess, if we were able to provide seatbelts for all of our littles, including our kindergartners, honestly. No, one of our kindergartners aren't any bigger than the little guys, you know. I couldn't figure, like, I've even been looking at tape of the kids, right? You know, Leanne flips stuff for us and sends us things about like some of the situations that are happening on the buses. And recently I asked her to show me some of the pre-K. And the little girl, there was a little girl, 2 little girls in the front seat. One was a kindergartner, one was a pre-K. I couldn't tell you the difference in terms of where they were, except I will say, if PBIS, the little kindergartner, the little pre-K kid was crying, she was sad. The little kindergartner put her little arm around her and said, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It was cute. And I got the bucket. That's really nice. But anyways, so they were the same size. I just, you know, I think this is a piece of public transportation that we just, you know, if we have to easily do it less, because that's bigger.
We do have, on the finale, this past, when the registration form for pre-K, we do have a place that does say, are you transporting, or do you need school transportation? And actually more signed up for transportation than we thought. Yeah, we did not think the students are going to utilize transportation. Just based on our numbers for pickups that we see every single day in the schools.
Right, but if they were going to pre-K someplace else, the parents would be required to transport them to their pre-K. So it isn't, that burden is now on the school district, and I personally do not think we're prepared for that.
It's just starting way outside box, but I'm like looking up. Thank you. Could we, with parent permission, put a 3rd grade on an outside seat of the kindergarten kid
pre-K kid that they keep that pre-K kid defined, and at least not moving them on the street, go to the street, and not be bad with Arnold. Just the thought, I think, check out, ask the parent if you're okay, I think as we get third graders to review it, especially if it's on Cape Cod, the town rigor. Yeah, I don't know, but, and then the other thing is maybe we have some high school kids that you can really service in the interim. Maybe you can get them to come in and sit when it gets monitored, because we're sitting, read stories to them on the budget. I mean, we have a problem, we've got to come up with a solution, and I'm anything outside the box at this point. Like we said, right, yes, we've thought about and are looking at the with student community service day. I'm up early, you want me to ride the bus? Had a great dog, use.
Oh, Lauren,
Yes, alright.
so coming back to high school, I also have a fourth grader who is deciding to try to study the 5 priorities. So I think that I love the idea, like, it help, I think it helps be very, reduce first, very small.
True.
Wasn't say we're gonna keep, like, we're gonna keep working on.
We'll keep providing updates to the board.
Is it possible that as a board, we can have an executive session and see some of these videos?
I mean, not to have
Right,
student
but-
privacy issues, it's just, there are student.
Well, I know
privacy
when you
issues
have it in
that we have to-
public, that's why I wondered if we could have an executive session to see some of the issues that are going on in the bus.
Right, we would have to get permission from parents, and so we go.
Okay, so we're moving on to the policy second readings. These policies have been reviewed by the policy committee. And we're now bringing them before the whole board to be reviewed and approved or rejected.
Actually, it can also be discussed, and there can be some additional things that come up.
Okay.
So the first policy is GBEB, and that's staff conduct with students. Both Sue and I tried to print out a hard copy for everybody
think I
this
got it.
evening.
I got it.
She got it. We had trouble, so we were gonna
Sorry.
refer you to your computers, but they have them.
It was actually Carmen, she pulled it up.
Well, I'm casting them out, why did it change from GH, whatever it is, to a WD?
It could just be a typo.
Okay, so
It's the same policy, so
Yes, all right.
we'll verify.
Sorry, keep this double reading.
okay, and the other one, the child fund,
Yes,
those ones I changed too.
okay.
So we'll look at those. Thanks. Thank you. Thank. Go, our answers, guys.
Lauren, do you wanna talk about your suggestion?
So before we start that, the policy that you are looking at has strike-throughs and the red font. The red font is a result of the committee work. The committee worked on this about 2 meetings and also worked with the Teachers Association representatives. So the president and vice president of the Teachers Association worked collaboratively with the committee to come up with these suggestions.
Same.
It was the very first red one. I do believe as a committee, we talked about how it can't be just educators and their students because this would include coaches, drivers, custodians, it's all school employees. And so I remember we first changed it to education and we're like, no, we can't do that because it would include all district staff. Do you recall that conversation?
Yes, what word did we use instead of educators?
Would be staff?
I think it was staff. Yeah, I think it was staff, right?
So we'll change that to staff.
So it'd be staff and their students, historically. Thank you.
All right, now Lauren, are you ready? Yeah. First, each takers and policy committee are working on this, obviously, for a lot of time.
things I noticed in the second paragraph, it says, it refers to, where districts will place in the educational setting. The third paragraph, it says academic setting. I don't know that I have a vote as to which, but I think that the verbiage should be, the same, yes. So either choose educational setting or academic setting. And then, in the unacceptable conduct, the A through everything. I think a few of those need a location or setting defined. And I don't know that it's redundant or not to add it, but I think particularly B, singling out a particular student or students for personal attention and friendship beyond the normal teachership relationship, of course, and the academic educational setting, super important. My friend sleeping over at his best friend's house and his mom's a teacher in the district. I don't think that applies there. Same thing for C, I think if it's something at school or something serious, but the flip side is, you know, if you're at a friend's house and parents are volunteers, staff member or whatnot, it's often comment, like, depending on the conversation, I would likely reach out to the kid's parent before I would like reach out to the school counselor, especially if it was something that wasn't happening at school or in the academic or educational setting. I think G is similar, but I also want to add G. Sorry. Addressing individual students with terms of endearment, names or otherwise criminal or familiar manner. I will say like one of the challenges to that is when I'm volunteering, especially like in a class of littles. I don't know everyone's name, so I'm not gonna be like, oh honey, go sweetie. Like, so I get that saying something to a junior might be one thing. And maybe it's not okay for me to say that, and like that's, you know, I just think we need to think of some of those situations, especially like PTO activities where you're getting, you know, all supposed to full of kids in and you're trying to help someone and everybody stays here, or like, what they do. So just food for thought. And then H, providing students to address you by a nickname or appropriately familiar manner. Nicknames, like an abbreviation of the last name is a nickname, so my name is Jay, that's a nickname. So I think I need to take account for that. Same way on volunteers, everyone calls her Granny Joy, she goes into the school, half the kids call her Granny Joy. It's okay, that's not appropriate, but I will say my kindergartner knows my friend personally calls her Miss Amanda at school, he's supposed to call her by her school name and he forgets a lot. So I think just the real life situations of like maybe keeping some of these to account for those. I put something I don't know what it is. And then continuing down to the next section after the new I, that section does say absent of parental acknowledgement. So I think in letter N, I think that the policy could stop after the word business. Need to add in that is known and agreed by the parent is kind of redundant. I think that was the majority of my thoughts, questions, and concerns of this policy. And I get that this policy is to protect kids and like, especially like the inappropriate situations, but I also want to be sure that we're protecting. We had a staff member who was a parent in the district come in and speak, I don't know, a year or two ago about this policy. So I do want to make sure we're addressing a lot of those concerns too, so our teachers know that they're safe and the parents who work in our districts feel safe in their community and they're not second guessing themselves. I think I really want to protect kids 100%, but I want to make sure we're looking at that piece too.
Thank you. Taking the mic.
Do committee members want to, initial thoughts?
The pet name thing, this is a staff conduct policy with students, so I'm thinking the grandmother who's coming to read doesn't really fall under this policy, so we don't have to worry about the volunteers and the PTO stuff happening in the school, because this is really about staff with students.
The policy does say this includes school volunteers.
Where does it say that? Yeah, and then it says staff underneath unacceptable conduct. Maybe we need to keep it consistent, I don't know.
We can bring this back to the committee. We have Lauren's feedback. We took notes, so we can bring it back.
Bring them back in.
Yeah, okay.
Great. That's a tough reading. That's a tough one. I appreciate everything Lauren said. Absolutely, yes.
And we were so thorough, so I'm
surprised
she has.
Yeah, it's another set of eyes.
The next policy is the child fund policy, and we do have copies of that as well. The only thing that needed to be changed in this policy was the age from 20 to 22 for students. The rest of the policy remains intact from how it had been previously.
And again, the code is wrong.
Yes.
And also, I sent you, I mentioned it to Sue, can we do either the birth date of when the child turns 22 on the birth date, or 21 inclusive, so that 5 years from now, when people don't remember doing this, that we're not suddenly providing services to 22-year-olds, because it's the birth date of 22. if I'm
Yes,
not
yes.
mistaken. Just
Yeah,
to be
very specific. Yeah.
Thank you.
Through 21.
21 inclusive, 3, whatever, just something, I don't know what the right term is, but I know how easy it is to start adding it.
Yeah.
I like Chloe.
So you're recommending 21 inclusive?
I think that works, doesn't it, everybody, 21 inclusive?
Are you okay if we make that change and then make a motion to approve this one, or do you want to see it again? Okay.
So do we have a motion to approve with this change?
The two changes, right? The code change.
Code
Yes.
change and the birthday change.
I'll second.
The motion's been seconded. All those in favor of approving the child fund policy with the changes noted? Thank you.
Hey, success.
And our next item of business is employment.
We don't have any shifts in employment at this point in time to report.
We now have a superintendent update.
Okay, so a few things. We just want to put another plug in for the Adams family. It's going through this weekend on Sunday. There's a 2 p.m. matinee, Saturday 2 and 7 p.m., and Friday night at 7 as well. Tonight already happened. Right now, so we just wanted to mention that again. We had parent conferences at the high school, middle school, as well as the elementary schools. Yesterday was very well attended at the elementary schools, always well attended at the elementary schools. So just kind of saw that as we were headed out to the Lebanon Historical Society, which we went to last night. So that's how we know that all those parent conferences were happening. We were headed up here. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that as part of our ongoing, work to try to reach out to community members that don't have children in schools. We attended the Lebanon Historical Society meeting, and that was combined with the Ladies of Lebanon meeting because their meeting had been canceled, and so they combined the meeting. And Melissa, thank you for making that connection for us. It was really helpful. So we attended that last night, Sue and I, and there were about 20 community members there, and we talked a little bit about the school district, and we answered questions, and then their goal that evening was to fill 150 boxes that they work on traditionally on a yearly basis for gifts for holiday. They were holiday boxes, and we send them out of the country to a different country. So they were working on that, which was really, really impressive just to see not only their process, but that it's through local donations that they get this, the funds and the information. So,
I learned how to build boxes.
yeah. So we spent some time there, it was a great time.
Where do they send them?
They don't know yet. Last year, they went to Argentina, so they don't know that until they go and then they get notified where it is. It is churches.
It was great, and there was a lot of, there was great questions about schools and all this stuff, so it was good. And I kept connecting with like people that invite, so that was fun.
And a lot of, the members that were sitting, or at the meeting had gone through Lebanon Elementary School, so it was really good to hear from them and, talk through some of that with them and their memories and thoughts. So it was good. And we left, our information, we left the latest newsletter just because it was pretty thorough. It talked about staff, students, some dates, upcoming dates and things like that. And also the QR codes to sign up for the newsletters. And so we're trying to get that happening, going on there. So that was, I felt really good about that time and it was fun. A few more things. We have a food drive that is being sponsored by the Berwick, North Berwick, and Lebanon PTOs and the 7th and 8th grade PTO. And food can be dropped off at our elementary schools. There's containers in the front of the schools as you walk in. So they can be dropped off, like I said again, at those pre-K to 3 schools.
Every school.
Every school, you got them at the intermediate school? Okay.
Yeah, MAS at the box and the middle high school at the box.
Okay, great, thank you. Is the middle high school in the middle, like right when you walk in?
I think it's the original main entrance, if Chelsea's there, she can confirm.
It's in the office.
It's in the office,
Yeah.
okay. Let's see, I'm just trying to see, here we go. Parent conferences, we talked about that. The other thing is the Department of Ed highlights some, from time to time, they highlight different schools or different programs in schools of note. And most recently, our Noble High School students, Extended Learning Opportunity Spotlight was done for the ELO on the for marine biology. So I just handed that out for everybody to have and look at.
I'll forward it to you, Lauren, I have it somewhere.
So it was just a very good overview of the program and what our students were doing and what our mission is with this. The only other thing was just wanted to talk about the facilities committee. We had talked about doing it on and off Thursday, so that would be next Thursday. I just want to see if that is still the plan, or if you wanted to put that ahead of the next board meeting, like a 6 o'clock start before the 7 o'clock meeting. Okay.
Which one are we talking about? So next week.
Do a facilities meeting next week, on the off week. So that would just be a facilities workshop. Could we start at 6? Does that work, or is that tough?
6, I think that's right.
Yes. Okay, so next Thursday is the facilities workshop, 6 o'clock at Noble Middle High School.
Okay, and so moving on to,
Let's hope you guys can have to go. That's why I was wondering. That's okay. All right, we'll see you next week.
moving on to our next item is other. Do we have any other topics?
Couple. The first one's kind of fun, but I just wanted to let the board know. Yesterday, the varsity boys soccer team found out that they were awarded the Class A Sportsmanship Award. Yeah, so that's really cool for our boys, I think. So they get to go accept that award Saturday during the state championship game up in Lesawonski. So that's cool for them. I totally misunderstood the point of this meeting, so I'm not trying to be difficult. However, to be fair for the people that are here that did expect some conversation to happen, I do want to ask if we can at least get some semblance of a plan or no answers, and we all understand these are big questions and there aren't gonna be any quick answers, but we have, I don't know, maybe they left, or we did have Kevin and Jason here, but yeah, I just, for the sake of the people that are here, can we just get a little bit of an update, what we're thinking? How did the tour go? What is the impression that we're getting, and where are we leading, and how are we gonna get to that decision, and what is a timeline?
So I think what the purpose of our facilities meetings is to examine Lebanon Elementary, because we do have that as a piece of it. So this was an initial meeting with a tour with civil consultants and Kevin to walk through and just see if there are any initial questions. So I think what I would say about a timeline is that and I'm just gonna go from a timeline meaning from the legal standpoint, from the requirements. It takes a full year to really go through the process. Once a decision is made, and we are not, it's a premature comment to make that we are at that point, because that is part of our facilities discussion. But it does take a full year because there's a lot of steps that you have to go through. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen with like the select board, with the community members, with staff. So this is just, as we said as we've said at our facilities meetings, these are the beginning steps of that discussion, and how that's going to go is up to the board. Really, that's the piece. So this was to get some groundwork, some foundational work, so that those future conversations can occur. We used the public input time for if there was any public input that anybody that was on the tour had or wanted, and there will be another public input at the end of this meeting so that we can hear as well.
And the workshop, can people attend that, but they can just listen, right? They
Yes,
can't
correct.
participate in the conversation, but they can be there to listen. Is there a way to make it available that if people want to have some input, maybe like down the road, I'm not saying it has to happen for the next workshop, but community members, can we come up with a way for them to sort of submit comments, input that we can be thinking about as we're making these big decisions, if there's no way for them to comment?
Yes, they always, and I know this is removed, but for example, if we have the facilities workshop on Thursday, the following Thursday, they can go to the board meeting and provide public input. We will be getting, feedback and communication from staff. That's really important, and from our community. Our goal is to go to the select board meeting and solicit information and their input as well. And hopefully that will draw in more people. But yes, I think our goal is never to do it in isolation. It's a huge decision for the town, and it's imperative to have that input. So yes.
Our meeting next Thursday, next week, it doesn't have to be a workshop. It can be a special meeting, and we can have public input at that meeting if we want it. And I would be of the opinion, I'd share that opinion with Melissa, that yeah, people want to attend and they want to say something. I would rather not have a workshop. I understand our first meeting was a workshop because we were kind of timelining things out. But at this point, more input the better. If people want to attend and share, I say let's hear from them. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that know a lot more than I do on things.
We can certainly do that. That's fine. One of the things that was also, I think, timely was thinking about that 5-year facilities, the maintenance plan, the capital improvement plan, and also we had a forum for public pre-K that we have not processed through yet, and that was going to be part of the discussion at the workshop as well. But if you want to switch that to a special meeting, and then
I would. I mean, I don't know if we need a motion to do that. Yeah.
Can I suggest something? Can we start with that part and then move into what we started with an opportunity for public input and conversation about this, and then moved into a workshop where we look at all of the, I would make a motion that we
We can set we can have a meeting and just set that there's gonna be one public input time. It doesn't have to be public at the beginning and at the end. If we wanna just do public in the beginning, then we set our agenda to be that.
Right, and then they
so-
don't, people don't understand, but they can know that it's a conversation about this.
Give a motion to that effect.
So what's could you just state the motion?
We switch from a workshop to a meeting that will have public comment at the beginning, and people will want to come and talk about that, but then we will move into a workshop. Talk about the bigger picture.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Do we have a vote in favor?
How are we doing, Lauren?
Is that it?
Are you in?
Are we, there was discussion, are we okay to do that, like, is that, oh, sure.
Well, it's gonna be a regular meeting, and so we'll follow the timeline, we've got time to get the agenda out. So yes, it will be public comment in the beginning, and then we will move into a workshop. So we can do that.
So,
Sorry.
that's okay. We've actually made the motion and approved it, I believe.
Can
but-
we amend the motion?
Yes.
Can we have public comment after the workshop, so that if people are listening to the workshop, they can then speak on what they heard? And ask questions, questions that don't have to be answered, but at least be able to answer their questions.
So basically a regular meeting, right? Like,
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
just pretty much
yeah,
a regular, sure, why not?
Workshopping about.
Could we-
Well, people don't interrupt the meetings anyway, but I personally would rather hear the comments and then ask questions or express concerns rather than try to come up with questions and then hear. So, can I amend I don't know how to do it.
It actually, I totally understand what you're saying, so I'm happy to amend.
Okay.
If you agree with the second?
Yeah.
Okay. So all those in favor of the amended meeting next week, like a regular meeting, we have facilities workshop in the middle, the same publishing, public input, all in favor?
Are we okay starting at 6? Okay.
Okay.
I just have one quick question. At our, when we debrief pre-K, will we have, Nancy asked some really good pre-K questions. Will we have those answers at Thursday's meeting or before Thursday's meeting to,
As best as we can answer them, they'll be there. Yeah, we'll provide the answers.
thank you.
Any other?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to piggyback on what Ida shared about the Adams feeling, it's really cool that the district made it happen so that, middle and fourth graders and NIS fifth and sixth graders all got to go on a field trip, yesterday, over to the high school to watch a little snippet of the play, and then that they're also doing like a free, feeling kind of outreach, I guess, Saturday morning, for the show also. But the kids were super excited to be able to go over and watch the high school show, so that was awesome, so thank you whoever thought of that, put that together.
That's great. Thanks, Lauren.
I was looking through the accounts payable, and saw that we noticed that we purchased a reading program, Reading Simplicity. Simplify, thank you. And I was wondering what we were using that for, what the intent of it was. Just out of curiosity, but I think it was, is it a pilot program that we're looking at, or is it?
It's an intervention program.
Is it an intervention
Yes.
program? Okay, thank you.
Any others? Okay, let's move on to public input. Folks, you've been very patient, staying with us through this evening. Is there any input that you would like to share with us?
Hello. I've been a peer pressure. So
So my name is Mallory Prince. I live here in Lebanon on Caroline's Way. I'm also a mom of a first grader and a seventh grader, and I'm the PE teacher in Lebanon. I'm talking tonight because I'm kind of confused. We were encouraged as Lebanon and as staff to come tonight and to discuss the Lebanon school, specifically LES and the building. And I apologize if I misheard, but I was also, what I understood from a meeting that we had, we were encouraged to not come through the walkthrough because it was just going to be a tour, and then the discussions and questions and things about the tour were going to happen here at the Hanson School at 7. So I'm just feeling a bit confused, and I probably misheard, but so I am a little disappointed to not hear some of the questions that the board had or some of the discussion points that you had after the tour that you took. Also listening to the meetings, watching here tonight, hearing things from others, and I've heard some of the questions, the suggestions, and issues with transportation in Lebanon specifically. And I just want to put out there, and I have in the past as well, speaking at other meetings, that staff, we have additional questions, but we also have suggestions, we have insights that can bring clarity to the board and some things that you might wonder about. And we have some of the direct answers that you're asking as well, and a lot of suggestions that we feel, because we maybe have put some into place, that can actually work and help solve some of the issues. And like I think I could say we, because you're up here. We as the staff and as parents in Lebanon, we want to help. We want to problem solve. We want what's best for the students, and we want what's best for the town. And we want to be involved, and we want to be informed. And so I feel like tonight is kind of an example of the confusion and some of the frustration that parents and staff feel. Just maybe misunderstanding, but feeling a bit left out, or things keeping a secret, or not shared, or not being involved in the process of it. And so, but thank you very much, and I do respect everybody, and you have a very difficult job, and so thank you very much.
In this case, I'd love to, because this is certainly not meant to keep secrets. It's just I
And again,
understand.
just saying kind of
Totally
the
understand that.
overall.
But I have a question. Could we invite them to that first part of the meeting? Does that work? Could you come to the first part of the meeting next week?
Yes, and to be honest, that is, we thought that's what this was tonight.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I actually already worked my second
That's
job
what
after
we
school, went home, fed, slung food, came here. I was under the impression that that's what tonight was, which is why some of us don't, some of the staff actually live pretty far and they're here tonight, because we're under that impression. And that's okay, and again, but it's just, I think, and to watching past night, it's this, we're gonna talk about that, and it feels like it never gets to that piece where some of the questions that you have asked tonight, we could answer those for you, or I'm sure some things going through. I directly work, in that building, and I work this is my classroom. So, and we want to help. We want what's best for the kids, and so that is. But yes, I hope I can be a part of that next Thursday. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
And thank you again. Thank you.
Hi, I usually don't need a microphone. Is there a reason why this workshop couldn't be held here in Lebanon so that staff who was already here could be here, and parents who wanted to be here might have a 10 or 15 minute drive instead of driving over to North Berwick? Is there a possibility to do that instead?
That's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. That's it, that's all I have.
Thank you.
That's an easy fix.
You guys.
Anybody else?
I usually don't need a microphone either, but I will. My name's Erin Dolly. I live on Windswept here in Lebanon, and I am a staff member here as well, and have a son in 7th grade. I want to echo Mallory and just saying thank you all very much for all the time and consideration that you put into everything in this district. The Lebanon facilities conversation with LES is something that I think is such a difficult. There's no right answer. Maybe you'll come up with one and prove me wrong, and I hope you do, but it is a really complicated situation. And I can't speak for everyone, but I don't think there's anyone sitting here who doesn't recognize that. And I don't think there's anyone who wants quick fixes or expects you to work miracles. I think what is, amongst the staff, I think what's hard is that we work here every day. These are our students. These are our kids. We live in this district. These kids are everything to us, and these buildings, we know them like the back of our hands. We know everything about it. For someone like me, I grew up here. I've been going to these schools since I was in kindergarten. My mother taught here. These schools are a part of my whole story. So I have a lot of passion and a lot of questions, and I have a lot of insight, and I would love the chance to be able to answer questions or to provide insights, because I think sometimes decisions or conversations are had, and I can hear that the information that decisions are being made off of is incorrect. And it's not because anyone's being negligent, it's just because they don't have the information or something was misconstrued. And it's hard because I can sit there and think in my head, that's not right. And so we want to make sure.
We're done with that. I'll change the batteries in that. But I just want to make sure that we are able to just hear the conversation and be able to be part of it. I don't think the board has in any way tried to shut the staff out or anything, but I do think that there's been, with the reconfiguration, Lebanon was hit hard. We lost 2 grades, the school situation is tricky, and we've navigated it, and the reconfiguration happened, and we've made it work. But going forward, I think that was a huge shock. We never saw that coming. And a lot of the things that happen aren't necessarily what a lot of the staff feel are best practices for we could do better. So this time around, when now we're talking about potentially maneuvering again, we just want to make sure that you have what you need to make the decision that you want to make. And we recognize it as your decision, but we want to be able to give you all of the information you need to be able to make the best possible decision for our students.
Thank you, appreciate that, thank you. Any other brave souls? All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Motion's been made and seconded, all those in favor?